Skyler on today to kick off our BudgetBridge Foundation guest speaker series, and appreciate that he's taking time out of his busy schedule to sit down with us and talk to us about some of the things he's doing, as well as some financial literacy stuff for our audience. So I'll let Skyler introduce himself as two-time Shark Tank alumnus and current entrepreneur and CEO of GameClass.
Thanks, Rohit. I thought you did a pretty good job on the intro. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years now in my life, 35. I had a wellness startup for almost 10 years. And then during COVID, it was forced close. And that's what led me into my newest startup, which I've had, I guess, since 2022. Really only been selling it for a year, but we've been building it for 2.5 years. So it feels a lot longer than that. But it's called GameClass. It is a tool for engagement that lets you turn any video game in the world into an educational lesson. And we do a lot of financial literacy subject matter. I actually do believe that video games are one of the best ways to teach financial literacy. So I was actually really excited when I found out, what Rohit and what your business was focused on.
Great. So I'll just start off then we'll talk a little bit about, so you just mentioned you've been involved in many successes, and I guess COVID being unexpected to shut down your business as well, but you've been in ed tech, you've been in cryotherapy. So just tell us, one thing or a couple things that you've done that have kept consistency for you in business, and like what common traits you've seen across the different industries that have kept you successful for sure.
Well, I never quit, right? I'm 35. I'm still, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time now. And again, like entrepreneurship is peaks and valleys. So you have these like phenomenal peaks and then you have these horrible valleys. A lot of times, if you're a new entrepreneur and you hit a valley, you're out, you're done. You go back to the corporate world, you never do another business again. And I think I've been through many valleys where I know they're coming, so it's not as scary. I know I'll get out of them. And again, when I have peaks, I know even though it feels so good, it's not going to last forever. So there's a lot of experience that comes with, again, not quitting and gaining that experience to understand what it's like to really be an entrepreneur and build a business.
When you see like entrepreneurs quit after their first go at it, is it just normally like burnout, or is it just like the wear of not being able to get success? Like, what did you do to keep your motivation after COVID shutting you down? Because you talked about that the first time I saw you, and seeing you kind of rebound from that with GameClass is a huge thing. So just walk me through that.
I don't think it's burnout so much as it is expectations, right? We have, you see all these famous entrepreneurs, right? And the glamorous lifestyle, the attention, and you're like, I want that to be me. And you think that, that's normal, but most entrepreneurs fail. Most of those entrepreneurs you're looking at had multiple failures before they were successful. So the expectations you're coming into, you watch these entrepreneur movies, right? Like how glamorous, right? To be an entrepreneur, but it's really not glamorous at all. And the second you get in there and you realize you built a business and there's no one that wants your product is very defeating. Really hurts. And I think, everything I've ever built, no matter how great I thought it was, there was never people waiting for it because that's just not realistic. And if you really go and look at any story of any great company, they had to really earn it. They had to, really do things that don't scale. They didn't have a bunch of customers waiting for them. That's not normal. Now, if you're expecting there to be instant people for your product and there's not, that's super defeating. Most people say, you know what, I'm out. Like this isn't working because they're expecting to have their product come out and everybody wants to buy it. So I think it's expectations that are destroying more entrepreneurs than anything. Now, burnout is tough. Like I think I'm probably burnout right now, but burnout is just a part of my life. I told you I don't sleep much.
Right.
I have to wear many hats as an entrepreneur, but I think it's more expectations than it is burnout.
I think it's really well said for us. Like we're just feeling the grind right now. It just started like getting off the ground, and I think you've been doing it for 15 years and you're still grinding. So something definitely to look up to.
Well, I'll give you something to motivate you. This will be really motivating, right? You were with me when it was pretty quiet, right?
Absolutely.
Great product, but pretty quiet. And then I made one LinkedIn post that went viral.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I signed a partnership for 9,000 schools. I ended up partnering with a senator. I ended up, talking to CEOs of gaming companies, ended up, I told you, getting close to doing a deal with the Fortune 500 company. All this stuff, this crazy stuff happened from one LinkedIn post. And that's what happens when you don't quit and
Yeah.
you keep going, right? It just was the right timing. And I look that LinkedIn post, I've been posting for like 6 months straight every day. And that was one of my worst LinkedIn posts. So it wasn't like I had this special post. It was just a lot of I kept grinding and then I got maybe a little lucky, but I put in the work, right? And then it opened up a lot of opportunities. All of a sudden, everyone knew GameClass existed. I'm a bootstrapped entrepreneur. If you're bootstrapping, and I know all of you are too, you don't have millions of dollars or thousands of dollars to tell people you exist. So
Right.
you really have to network your way to existence. No one's going to buy your product or use your product if they don't know it exists.
Yeah, I think it's something that we live by and we live by from day one at BudgetBridge, and I'm glad you said it is like it only takes one to get us going. So yeah. Little leadership question here. You've been in leadership roles like VP of sales at Next Wellness and now CEO of GameClass, and we've got our couple wonderful interns on here today. So for them, how do you approach motivating teams? And for us as founders, how do you approach motivating teams and comparing, as well as comparing it to your motivation as a founder yourself?
This is really hard. I mean, I have a lot of people working for me, and I have a lot of people that are working for me on
I mean,
what
I've
they're going to get
worked
at the
for
end of the
you,
road.
so I kind of know the answer to the question, but
I think one, I try to find people who are motivated by what I'm doing. So it's really mission driven. Like, I think the company I'm doing is really exciting. I think what you're doing is really exciting, right? Like, we all know financial literacy is critically important, but it's not a main subject. It should be. So I think your mission is fantastic. My mission is, hey, all the content in school is really boring. So sure, a lot of students are not engaged, not participating, but maybe if you had more engaging content, they would want to participate more. And you're not going to learn anything if you're not paying attention. So if you can take their favorite video game, maybe you get them to pay attention and start engaging. So I think a lot of people, even if they didn't care for video games, were inspired by let's try different things that get students to want to participate.
absolutely. So then I guess you would suggest just keep bringing on people like these wonderful two interns that continue to believe in our mission and want to spread the message as much as they can, right?
Don't keep bringing on people. Actually, I'm more of a fan of smaller
Oh,
teams.
really?
I
Okay.
think when you keep bringing on too many people, right, you have to please too many people, you have to manage too many people, and then you have to make too many people happy, right?
Yeah,
So you have very talented people on the team, right?
right.
If you can all get together and make this work, the level of success you can all achieve is way greater than if you had 25 people you need to take care of,
Okay.
right? So I believe smaller teams can be just as impactful and they're much easier to manage. And I'd rather get into a small Zoom room with just a few people that I can trust. I don't want a ton of people that are doing okay work. I want a few people that I just know I can count on.
That's a good little nugget. Clip that one for sure. That's awesome. Definitely not the answer that a lot of people would be expecting. But I
No, I will always give you the truth, right?
oh
'Cause
yeah,
I've been an entrepreneur for so long and
of
I've learned
course.
this the hard way. It's really not it's quality, not quantity.
Many entrepreneurs obviously dream of rapid expansion and have expectations. But what's one warning you'd give them about growing too fast and something you'd tell us about that as well?
I mean, I'm experiencing this right now. Our growth is way exceeding our team. And you talked about burnout, right?
Yeah.
I'm having to decide what deals and money to turn down. Sounds like a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
Because at least you have demand and traction. It's actually really scary because who wants to turn down somebody that wants your product or money? But I have no choice because I'm not going to be able to do a good job in all of these. So I have to focus on the most important ones until I can expand my team. I cannot expand my team too early or I'll run out of cash or I'll make massive mistakes, right? And that's part of bootstrapping. You have to be when you're bootstrapping, you have to only spend money when you absolutely have to spend money. Once you reach a point of lots of revenue, it is a lot easier to spend money, right? Because you have more money to play with. So timing is really important when you're building a business. Timing is really important when you're an entrepreneur. And right now I am going through a difficult time of how do I, please everybody? Because one problem I built at GameClass is we can do every subject, but I don't have the resources to make quality content for all subjects and all grade levels. So now I'm realizing I need to double down on things that I know are working where there's more traction. Like financial literacy has been incredible for GameClass. So that's one that we're doubling down on. Things that I think make more sense for video games, like teaching AI literacy and prompting through video games.
They'll pick up the slack for me. It's okay. So then going off of that, like what's one underrated skill you think that every entrepreneur should develop, and this is a good thing for some of us to hear and for our team to hear for sure.
You should know this from me because I try to teach it to you and everyone I've ever worked with. Is sales, right? Like again,
I think I know what you're
doesn't
gonna
matter how good
say,
your
but
product are. If you are not a great salesperson, you need a great salesperson on your team or you're going nowhere.
I
I
was
happen to be
it's
lucky.
funny.
I'm a salesperson. Yeah.
It's funny because before
So
you got on there, I was telling everybody it's like this guy is the guy you want to learn from about sales. He's king of sales. just listen to him talk
Yeah,
about
there's a
sales.
video I'll send you maybe that you can share because it was someone who heard about my product and it was such a hard call because they did not understand Game Class at all. And I had to turn them around from not getting it. And after 30 minutes, like loving it and being like, I want to spend money on it right now. And that's something you can only gain through experience, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
recorded through all my recorded Zoom, but it's such a great call because he was not getting it, was about to lose this person on a product that was perfect for him. And then he's like, all right, I want to go all in on this at the end of the call because the light bulb went
Yeah, I
off. And he
remember.
finally realized, "Oh, wow, I can do this with my existing business." So you have to be able to sell your product. And if you can't, that's okay. You need to find someone that can.
Yeah, I remember when we were in the early days at GameClass, and we were trying to just get teachers to be like, "Hey, can we," like, we were trying to tell them like, "Hey, can you guys try and use this and see if it works in your classroom lessons?" And you were like, you told me, you were like, "Play to what their objections are. Make sure you focus on that, and tell me." And after every sales call, you'd be like, "Tell me what's one objection you notice," and I'd be like, "Okay, great." And I every time I got onto a sales call after that early on, I kind of got better every time because I was able to note down. We knew what the objections were going in, so we used to game
Makes it
plan for that,
easier,
and I
right?
knew
When
you.
you can
Yeah,
anticipate
for
them.
sure.
And then also, like, when you said, like, people want to be told what to do. So typically, I
Right.
want to go into a meeting telling someone how to use Game Class. It's a challenge if I don't know their background. But the more I get more familiar working with esports people, I know they have the same problems, right? So I can come into the call knowing exactly how to solve the esports teacher's problem. If it's a financial literacy teacher, and I've talked to enough financial literacy teachers, I know how to solve their problem. So getting on a lot of sales calls and learning what their main problems are. I don't want to sell Game Class as everything. That's really hard. It overwhelms people. If I could sell Game Class for
Yeah.
one simple thing, like it's the best homework you can do for financial literacy, and I know that they want homework for it, it's such an easier sales conversation.
Yeah, we definitely did talk about focus as well. You said it doesn't have to be for everybody. It just has to be for the right things for the right people. I remember you saying that for
Yeah, and
sure.
again, look, you can tie like I could tie Game Class to so many things, right? But if I'm going to overwhelm someone and lose them if I talk about every single thing. If I could just find out what the biggest thing that's bugging them, and then I could tie Game Class to it, I'm solving a major problem for them, right? So
Absolutely.
not always that easy. You got to listen, and then maybe you get inside information from someone in your network who already is talking to the person. So you come into the meeting knowing what their problem is. Way better. I'll tell you for like the Fortune 500 company, right? Their problem was their content. They didn't feel like their content was engaging enough. And they loved how we were using really popular video games to get students excited about content.
All right. I'll throw it to Avi now. Go ahead with what you've got, and yeah.
Yep. So yeah, before I jump on to like a different sort of idea aspect here, I'll just connect through a question of Game Class. On day to day, you work with a bunch of educators, I'm sure, to work with Game Class. So from what you've heard, what do you think are like different sorts of gaps that are offered in financial literacy education for students?
Okay, when I talk to most educators, they bring up the fact that they feel like financial literacy is not taught and it should be. That's what we talk about. Is there really is no program at most of these schools. There's no
Right.
attention paid to it, and everyone goes
Yeah.
like major problem. Like, how could we not be teaching this when you grow up and budgeting, investing, taxes are a huge part of your life?
It's not required,
So
no personal finance course.
no, it's a
Yeah.
major
So
problem that I think every educator agrees with.
yeah, it's something that we were trying to solve originally because we were like, we
We've
are
been
blessed actually to be in a state that even has personal finance. I think we're
that
one of the
offers
only
it, yeah.
states
Yeah.
You're
that
rare.
offers it
New
anywhere.
Yeah.
We're
Jersey.
rare.
New
Yeah,
Jersey.
you're
But
you're not the norm at all.
yeah,
It's actually awesome that it
there's
is
even
not the
there's a
requirement.
but for us too. The but for us is, hey, you can take 3 different classes and get out of it. Like we here, it's like digital
Yeah.
marketing, AP economics, and you can
Marketing,
just get
sports
out of
management, all can fulfill that
sports management.
We
requirement.
Yeah,
went to so
you just
many
get
school board meetings just to try and get that rid of because those classes like AP economics and digital marketing weren't helping at all because budgeting, saving, taxes, all that wasn't taught and they were just trying to get rid of the requirements. So we're just trying to get that financial literacy aspect going to all students the best we can.
It should be. I mean,
and
look,
some.
I'm a proponent of it should start in elementary school and continue through middle school and high school. That's how important it is to me. I can't think
Yeah,
of a subject that I use more in my life than financial literacy, to be honest with you, more than math, science, language arts, social studies. So if you really want to prepare the next wave of, of students or Americans, like how could you not teach financial literacy?
and I'm
100%.
glad that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
teacher perspective is the same thing coming because I know the student perspective
They
is like
all agree.
because like
It's
from the
one of those
student
things that's
perspective,
non-debatable. Pete. That's what's great.
yeah,
Like most people can argue or debate something. I have not, and I've
yeah,
talked to, I want to be honest with you, probably 2,000 educators in 3 years. Not one has said, oh no, that's not something we should teach or put it as a priority. Not one teacher
yeah.
has said that.
And we come out as students being like, what the heck? Like you guys didn't feel the need to teach us how to do basic budgeting, learn our taxes, look at our electric bill, whatever, like crazy. And
I
And even
wasn't
so
taught
that,
anything
that's
about it.
our mission started from, is like
Am I schooling right? Nothing. There was nothing about financial literacy at
it's
all.
and even that, it's one semester. It's like 2 months of perhaps pretty much the most important thing you learn in school, and you're
Yeah,
only
that's
learning
not
it for
enough.
about a year.
Not enough at all. So I think you're all on the right track. Like again, if I could, again, say what subject in the next 10 years is going to be the most important, I'd say financial literacy. And I think actually, based on what I've heard, I think it is starting to get the attention it deserves.
yeah. Because I think more and more as you see our generation go out into the world, you're seeing us be so much behind where other places were, just because we just don't come out with the right knowledge, and so we're just tanking ourselves, we're driving ourselves into the ground
What?
every day. And the way technology is developed, using Apple Pay and irresponsible spending, has continued to just be like a terrible thing for our generation for sure. So yeah.
I agree.
Like we did a survey when we first came out with a lot of our high school students, and one of the things they said is, "Oh, we spend $40 to $50 on like DoorDash orders every week." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." I was
Look,
like,
there's no budgeting of
ridiculous.
knowing where the money's going, right? And again, it's
Yeah,
okay. Like I spend money on that stuff, and I did when I was your age. But you should start learning where your money is going, because you're right. There's all these Netflix, DoorDash, microtransactions, right, on the multiplayer video games that you don't even realize are
right,
coming out of the bank account. And again, it's not like I'm telling you not to make those payments. I would have, I still do, but we should be conscious of where they are, right?
for sure.
Especially like in business, like no, you got to know what your overhead is, right? All your costs.
And even like,
That's
in
Mhm.
general, when you ask any millennial, right, what's the biggest regret they've had? Like pretty much all of them say, oh, I wish I knew about Roth IRAs at 17 or 18. I wish I started investing in the
Oh yeah.
S&P at
If you ask
17,
any
18.
of our parents, they'll say, "Dang, I didn't invest in Google, or
Yeah.
I didn't invest
Wish
in
I started
something back then instead
investing
of
earlier.
spending my
And
money." Yeah,
it's like
for
anything.
sure.
Oh, I wish I got in the gym earlier, right? I wish I learned this earlier. And I really think
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
schools in
I
general
agree with you 100%. Everyone says that, right? Everyone in my generation does say that. Like, I wish I had known this.
wish.
We weren't taught. And again, like, we dropped the ball, but at least us in this conversation, we're trying to change that. I do have a question. I know it's an interview, but just a quick question. How, your
tell me.
nonprofit, like, are you charging schools? Is it you just giving them financial literacy resources for free?
Yeah, so
We're an NGO. So you want to take this here?
no, you can take it. Go ahead.
Okay. Provide all of the resources for free. So the way we operate is a train the trainer model. So when we're operating in different countries, we connect with volunteers on the ground and other nonprofits, and we'll provide them with the materials, and they, find a group of students to teach. But then if we're going to be teaching here domestically, we usually go into a couple local elementary schools and we go over basic, personal finance lessons, but pretty much
And then
everything is
we're trying to solve
Okay,
like a
this is
lot of
good.
like our local thing, because we're in New Jersey, right? It's like a lot of our thing, it can be just solved by legislation. If we can
Yeah.
help get this
Yep.
legislation passed, we
Okay.
solve almost 80% of the problem, which is just that
I agree.
that they can take. I know you have more comments on that for sure. So
Well, I was going to say, so you're going to rely on like grants and funding, right, for your nonprofit?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
say we should partner, because the Fortune 500 company I'm going to work with, it's free.
Mm,
They're not charging for it. So
okay.
that fits in with your model. It's going to be free resources for particularly middle school, but also I'm trying to push them into elementary school.
Yeah, because
And again,
I've seen like with GameClass, like when we make lessons for elementary schools, like that's when they're still able to get the basic concepts, because they're not being taught by like they're learning it through interactive lessons, right? So they'll be able to see the basic concepts, right? And that's where GameClass gets in on the ground level and so you can easily do that with elementary schools, because those kids can learn it at that time.
yeah, well, at least the basics, right? And that's the thing. I
Right.
think it is a challenging thing to teach to elementary school, but that's where video games are actually really valuable, right? Because you can use Animal Crossing, which is made for kids, where they get alone in the game. You can start really basic with things through very games that are suited for young kids, right? It makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, it would be really complicated to teach these things to elementary school. Once you get to
Right.
middle school and high school, it's a lot easier to teach the concepts.
Yeah. All right. Avi, you got anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, so related back to financial literacy, just focusing on a nonprofit here. How do you think nonprofits like us, BudgetBridge, like leverage into ed tech to scale financial literacy across multiple countries with limited resources that we were talking about? So if we want to scale internationally with countries along with limited resources, how do you think we can jump in with ed tech?
And I'll add to that by saying you just
Yeah.
saw and heard about our World Cup challenge, and so that's one of those
Yeah.
things like where it's like we have to scale with that internationally in order to get the amount of people to sign up and really be invested in something like that. That's a big project.
I mean, you need funding, and then you need to, again, like, I think even just connecting with me, right? Like the company that wants to work with me, like their goal is to get this out to students, right? And again, who's the best person to pitch this to schools than students themselves?
Right.
Literally. I mean, how many schools,
Yeah.
if I brought you top quality game class content and said, can you for free get this engaging financial literacy content in the middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools in New Jersey? And you could, and I said, for every school, I'm going to pay you this much. Now money is coming into your nonprofit, right? I'm asking you to sell something that's free,
Absolutely.
and I'm asking you something
Yeah,
that's very engaging. So I think it's funny that we
absolutely.
actually, this whole thing kind of came together because it's perfect. Because again, we're
Yeah,
not trying to charge for this. It's a mission driven thing by a company that has
right.
unlimited resources.
Absolutely.
Unlimited.
Yep.
Avi, you
Yep.
got one more?
Yeah, I got one more. So
Okay.
yeah, as we talked, you've been through multiple businesses, right? So my main, I was wondering, after you sold your cryotherapy business, right? What's your main driving factor that led you into the whole ed tech space?
So I kind of like fell into cryotherapy and wellness. It wasn't like it was something I was super passionate about. Even my degree was exercise physiology. I saw a counselor and I was undecided, right? And they're like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." I'm like, "I like baseball, I like sports." Like, "Oh, you should be exercise physiology." Like that's how I got my major that quickly. It was kind of forced, right? I would have rather chosen business or something that, I always had ideas to be an entrepreneur. So it's funny looking back at how I got into my major. And then when I got out of it, I had all these ideas. So I got, just randomly someone told me about cryotherapy. I was like, "Oh, I could do that." Next thing you know, I was on Shark Tank and I was doing a deal with a $1 billion health club, and I was so deep in, I couldn't get out. I had multiple locations. It was just too big. And then when COVID happened, I was shut down. I do not quit, right? I told you that. But I was
Right.
shut down for a year. I could not walk into my business to grab a pencil. I was locked out of it. I was in a health club in California during COVID. Doesn't get more strict than that. So I had
And
to cancel
California has like
all
the
my
most,
subscriptions.
yeah, yeah.
It was closed
California has like
down. And if
most
you're in a health club,
stringent,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
It was the strictest. I think California and New York were probably the two strictest states there were during COVID.
Yep.
And we were in a health club. Our business was in a health club. So again, I could not walk into my business to get a pencil. I was locked out. Moved back home. I finally had time to play video games again. And as I was playing a game, I was like, wow, like, if you recorded our communication in this multiplayer game, it would be a great thing to teach in university level because you could see the communication break down. And when we would lose games, you could see why we weren't communicating properly. And that wasn't something that I thought about elementary school. I'm thinking you could teach this in university level. And that's when I started to think about video game education. And when I looked into it, everybody was building their own game from the ground up. Now, I'm not anti-educational video games, but I'm a very realistic person. The reason why in the last 50 years, you can only name 2 educational video games is because on the most part, they don't work. They're boring. The kids don't buy into them. What they do buy into is Fortnite, Minecraft, World of Warcraft, all the games that they love. You don't need to force them to play those games, and they're so educational. You want to
Right.
talk about physics, take Rocket League and talk about the angle of how the ball was shot into the net. That's teaching. So my idea was completely different than what anyone else was doing at all. People were like, "Oh, we're going to build these games," but they were too educational. They weren't fun. There's no investment in the characters or anything. So all of a sudden, we're working really well because when we get in front of students in a classroom, it does work. But it's not surprising. Half the work's done for us. You just
Right.
need to choose the right video games. So again, the 2 games I mentioned were Math Blasters and Oregon Trail. I don't know if you all grew up with those games. You probably didn't. But there has not been a lot of successful educational video games that were built to be educational. Now I'll go further. Roblox, right? Roblox just announced they were going to go, invest heavily into ed tech, but they're investing in building games from the ground up to be educational. I don't think it's going to work that
That's
well.
yeah,
What
that's
they
not the
should do
model.
is they should take Grow a Garden and all their popular games, and they should gamify and educate. I don't know what the term is. Make them educational.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah.
GameClass does. That's going to be way more successful. And again, what's great about GameClass is we don't have hardware restrictions. We use recorded game clips. So the accessibility means any teacher in any school in the world within 2 minutes can have GameClass in the classroom teaching it. If
Absolutely.
you
I've
need
seen
hardware, you've seen it. If you need
I've
hardware,
been on the
you need
website, yeah,
school
for
to
sure.
invest in the hardware, and then they got to play the game for 40 minutes, an hour. No
I
school
mean,
is going to let
Skyler,
kids play video games like that.
how many clips are we at now? Are we almost 1,000 to 2,000? Are we
We
is
have
it more than that now?
3,000. We have 3,000
3,000.
templates you can
Yeah.
use, and then we have 1,000 pre-built lessons in our
Yeah,
library.
it's awesome stuff. So you can kind of go onto the Game Class website, play around, and use any lesson or take any game and make it into something that's educational. And it only takes, we know, Skylar and I know that it only takes what 5 to 10 minutes to create something really, really
Not only
engaging.
that, it's getting easier. We're using AI. So we're using AI for
Yes,
so many things.
yes,
One,
yes.
Rohit, you'll love this. AI is going to help you find the right clip. So if you
Yeah,
need something
this
specific,
is
AI will
something
scan all
we
3,000 clips, right? And it'll go, okay, this is the perfect clip for you because you needed something that had dirt in it or a black hole.
Yeah, we talked about this from day one. We were like, if we can get AI to sort our clips, we had because Skylar knows that we had problems at Game Class from day one on how we were gonna organize our clips and then have people select from that. And so the integration of AI for sure is awesome. And it's
And where
something
we're
that
going to go,
I've
and this is going to
also
take a while, like it's
yeah,
not going to
yeah.
happen anytime soon, but we're going to have AI connect to our editor that we built, and you can prompt a Mario Kart probability lesson in 10 seconds.
And it's also
Done.
something like when I joined Game Class and I first got on the team, it's something like Skylar immediately jumped on to teach me is how can you use AI effectively to make sure that you make your daily business more efficient. And so he's like, I'm gonna show you the prompts I made. And so I have a lot of prompts from you on just making sure that these are more efficient and you're using the AI to your advantage rather than just because a lot of students nowadays, this is another thing we talk about aside from financial literacy is AI. Like a lot of students in the classroom nowadays just copy paste their assignment and use it, but you can use it for so much more. And that's what I tell so many people. It's like,
I wouldn't have Game Class without AI, and I kind of hate saying that. It's not that I couldn't have built it. It's just how could I do the position of 15 people so quickly, right? So
right,
I use
right.
it for LinkedIn posts, emails. I don't, some things it's not good at, but things that it is good at is articulating my thoughts really quickly. I never take the first answer and use it. So I look it over and probably redo it 3 or 4 times until I get exactly what I want, but I can't write it better than AI as far as grammar goes. So it's really good for that. And also for Game Class specifically, it can read the video game frame. So it knows everything that's happening in that frame or clip. So it can help you teach anything, no matter how abstract it is. Knows what game it is, knows what can be taught. It's like using AI can make a lesson 30 minutes down to 5 minutes when you're creating. So for Game Class specifically, it is phenomenal. Other things, again, if I ask it to make me an image, I want to pull my hair out. Sometimes I'm trying to make an image for LinkedIn, right? And I'm like, it just can't get anything right. It misspells the text. It puts in it looks ugly. And I'm like, I should have just gone to Canva and built it myself at this point. So AI is not great at some things still. I think we'll keep getting better, right? But for what it is good at, yeah, as far as building a business, it's going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah, that's great insight. I think that closes out what Avi has. So,
Yeah.
Keshav, do you want to go in with? I know you had a question for Skylar. You want to ask him?
I know you've been an entrepreneur for like 15 years. So from your experience, what's like the most common misconception about being an entrepreneur that you wish young people like better understood? And like how does that like apply to like your day-to-day life? And how do you like use that?
That you're going to work less because you're working for yourself is a big one. You're going to work way more for yourself, way more. Also that it's, you're going to make all this money and be rich and it's glamorous and all this stuff and the fun lifestyle. It's brutal. I think a lot of people get hurt. It's not for everyone. I think it's way harder when you have a family. When I was your age, like I have to worry about a wife or kids and how to balance that, right? Work-life balance. Because
Yeah,
I could just work for 10, 12 hours straight if I wanted to, if I got into a project. I can't do 12 hours
Yeah.
now with my daughter and my wife.
yeah, you've got a
That
young
wouldn't
daughter,
work.
so. But
So
I know
it's a lot harder.
she's on the Game Class website, so I know you've got her in doing some lessons on there too. So
She loves it. She's so,
yeah,
again, even it's the colors and the music, right? She's not invested in the video game characters, but she's so engaged by what she sees on the screen. I can teach her like emotions and stuff like that with the video games. But she'll beg me like, Daddy, I want Game Class. I want Mario. I want Sonic. It's cute. But it makes, again, building a business with a family is a lot harder. So
right,
now I
right.
respect, like when I was younger, I didn't realize when you're older how much harder it is to be an entrepreneur. It's way harder. Best time to do it is when you're young. So super proud of all of you because, yeah, you should absolutely do this kind of stuff at this age. Start a business, learn, make mistakes. Mistakes are normal. In fact, I was watching this other CEO talk and he said, you learn way more through mistakes than you do success. Sometimes you have success and you're not even sure what you did right. I agree with that. I've been
Yep.
successful a lot, like the
Yeah,
LinkedIn post, right? I can't replicate that LinkedIn post, though it was successful. I honestly have no idea why it worked so well. But when I fell, it's really easy for me to go, wow, I fell because I did this. That was not smart. Or I'm like, oh, Game Class is too broad. We're covering too many subjects. I need to hone in on a few things and get my content better for those specific subjects. So you just learn a lot by just, getting out there and experiencing it.
Yeah, we saw that early
Um,
as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I've heard that. I mean, I've seen that like many like professional people who work in like different industries like first gain experience like in their like workforce by like working for like corporate companies and then end up starting their business like later on in their like 40s or 50s. Like what are like the pros and cons of like starting early or like versus like starting like
That
at
is a great
like 40 or
question.
50?
I love this question because I do think it's more valuable if you come from your space. I don't come from the education space, right? So one, I'm viewed as an outsider. And two, I don't like, I'm talking to public schools. Even though I've been a salesperson and I think I'm a very good I sold cryotherapy. I sold people on taking off their clothes and freezing themselves to pay me money. And I did that for over $1 million. So I can sell anything. But when I'm talking to public schools, right, and budgets and the systems and the tech directors and all these things come up, I'm getting overwhelmed because I just didn't come from the space. Imagine if I had been a principal or superintendent for 5 years. I would
Right,
know
right.
exactly what's going through their head.
Yeah.
So there's tremendous value of starting something in a space that you had to work up corporately, right? There's
Mhm.
tremendous value. It's never too late to start a company. You can start if you're 50, 60, or 70. It's a grind. I even, with GameClass, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I want to start a company for a very long time again. I will join a company because I love startups. I don't think I want to be the founder of one for a very long time. So I'm all in
Yeah.
with GameClass. Like, this is my
Yeah.
big one right here. But it'll be a long time after GameClass before I think I'll be a founder again. But I would join a startup and help them, but probably not be a founder for a while. It's just such a
Right.
grind.
Yeah.
And
Definitely. I can tell.
you started cryo really young, and you didn't come from that field necessarily either. Obviously, you had your degree kind of related to that, but you started cryo with a lot of less experience too. So you really built two things or more from the ground up. So that process definitely, as an entrepreneur for you, has probably been a little different than
It's been different. Also, I have a bad habit of choosing innovative things, which is not always the best business idea because they're more innovative. You have to do a lot of education. They take a lot longer. Right? Cryotherapy was very different. Really had to educate the market. It was no one was doing that when I started. Same thing with transforming video games into education, right? First one to really
right.
do that. So I have a bad habit of choosing very innovative ideas. And those ones are
That's
harder.
That's I get that question all the time when people are like, "Oh, you guys only started this in your junior year. Like, what took you so long?" And we're like, "Well, we were looking for something a little different than what a lot of people in our like in our high schools and in our areas start nonprofits on." And we were thinking, like, what is missing that we can make an impact on? And so that's something that I think you've done really well also with cryo and
Thank
now
you.
with game class. Yeah.
And I'll answer another part of your question because it was such a good question, right? Like it's kind of an objection to say, oh, you don't come from the market. Why should we trust you or buy your product? But what I can tell them is, hey, you're a teacher, educator, principal, superintendent, right? I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. If you decided in a month you wanted to start your own business, would I help you or say you can't be an entrepreneur because you've never done it? And I've been doing it for 15 years. Do you see how I turned it around on them? And they're like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, I would gladly get on a Zoom and help you out for free. I would gladly say you
Mhm.
deserve to be an entrepreneur. And they're like, well, if I could be an entrepreneur, why can't you come into the education industry? So see, again, you can get past objections if you find the right way to do it. When I frame it like that, they're like, yeah, that wouldn't be fair. So it's a lot of times you just got to find the right framing for things.
Have you ever responded to someone in that way where you flipped the objection on them and they've been like disrespectful or rude back to you and you've kind of walked out of a meeting feeling like
I'll be honest, in game class, I've only maybe talked to 2 rude people. And that's impressive in like 3.5 years. I think in the crowd space, it was very toxic. It was a wild west. People were not the nicest. There was a lot of toxic people around. People were brutal with my crowd business. Brutal. Game
oh,
class, like it's been so lucky that like no one's like, oh, like you're doing such a bad thing trying to help students learn through video games they love. Like there's really
right.
no way for someone to put down what we're doing because even if you don't like gaming, you're like, wow, this is like a good thing you're doing, right? So I really haven't had that. I've had people that maybe weren't like, this isn't the most exciting thing I've ever seen. I'm like, well, it's not really supposed to be. It's like, it's supposed to be a simple tool that engages students. I don't think this is supposed to be a whole curriculum. It's supposed to be a quick supplemental thing where they weren't paying attention. They want to engage. You use video games to get them to get excited. You turn off game class, they're still asking questions. So
Yeah, that's why
sometimes I have
we
trouble with people who want too much out of game class.
right,
I
right,
didn't
right,
even
right.
build it to be that much, to be honest with you. I didn't think, oh, this is supposed to be the entire class or all you use is game class. Game class is just a tool. extremely effective when you use it. But if you were to use it all the time, it would lose some of its value because, again, if you have a cheeseburger every day or you have a salad every day, you get sick of it. So you don't ever want to outstay your welcome with anything.
All right. That's another great piece of advice for us to take in. And I think, Shub, you got a couple questions, right? You want to
Yeah, I
ask?
do. So I do kind of want to move the conversation over to kind of, more of your entrepreneurial experience, especially when you started with cryotherapy, right? So you've been on Shark Tank Global twice now, right? Correct?
Yeah,
You know,
I've been on Shark Tank twice.
what was your experience like? And, what do you think is the biggest lesson you took away from it?
The biggest lesson would be things are what you make them. Okay. So I've been able to spin Shark Tank for 10 years now in my favor. A lot of people are on the show and you never knew they were on the show, right? And let's be honest, it's on air for 14 years. A lot of people have been on Shark Tank. But when I put Shark Tank in my emails or I put it on my LinkedIn, I get way more people wanting to connect with me or send me emails because I was on Shark
Right.
Tank. Like, oh, he was on Shark Tank. I'll talk to him. Oh, he was on Shark Tank. He must be important. Let me add him on LinkedIn. So that's been the value of it. It's a TV show for entertainment. I don't think I got much value on the actual show, but the value after the show, unbelievably powerful for me in my life.
I don't know if
And
you're
really,
allowed
like,
to. I was gonna
no, go
say,
for
I
it.
don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but like your first deal, right? Didn't it fall through after the show?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they want me talking about it, but I don't really care. And I don't have to talk about everything. But the reason why the deal fell through, to be honest with you, is I had a cryotherapy business and a deal was made on air, but the deals are not final on air.
Right,
They're
right.
not, they're just
Yeah.
show, right?
Due
So you go
diligence
through
and
due
stuff
diligence
afterwards.
for 6 months to a year. But what happened a month after we filmed, and this is 10 months before we're on TV, somebody died in a cryo chamber. Someone
Oh,
died. An employee on their own wouldn't do a unit by themselves, which is you're not supposed to go in by yourself. And back in the old days, today they use electric cryotherapy. You can't pass out, it's electric. It's like being in an ice storage room. Back in the day, we used to use nitrogen. Nitrogen is extremely cold, but there's no oxygen in it. So it would
right,
come up
right.
to your neck. So your head would be above it. That's fine. The second you breathe the nitrogen, you're going to pass out. Because she went by herself, there was no one in the building. She fell to the bottom. She was on her phone. She fell to the bottom. No one was there to take her out. So this horrific accident that no one was expecting, this tragedy happened a month after we filmed. She was like, no way am I going to do this deal. Can you imagine the liability if something happens and then they sue Skyler's company? They're going to sue me because I have the money. So
Mm,
I don't like really blame my shark for backing out. I think again, it was just a tragedy and I guess horrible bad luck for the company. And that's life, right? Like a lot of things like that you cannot control. Can't control COVID. It wasn't my fault my business was shut down. Like I did nothing wrong and it was shut down for a year. I had to cancel 300 memberships. What did I do wrong? Nothing. But the whole world suffered from COVID. It wasn't just me.
absolutely.
You know,
Shoot, go ahead.
adaptability is such a big buzzword, right?
Yeah.
How do you really think entrepreneurs should adapt to, big challenges like maybe a deal falling out or something, a market crash or even like something like
You can't prepare for them, right? I think with GameClass, we're so well set up because we have no debt and we're super lean. So if another COVID happens and things get bad, like we're going to be just fine. The second you hire tons of employees and you have tons of debt, your company's finished when you have an accident or another COVID. So it's all about preparation, right? You
Right.
cannot prepare for certain things, but you can put your company in a position to be better prepared for something that is unexpected to happen.
preparation is key.
Yeah, it's everything. And again, like that's why I love Bootstrap because if you bootstrap correctly, ideally there really shouldn't be a lot of things that push you out of business. You should be able to survive if you have no revenue, if you're bootstrapped. Because again, even if you're the founder, like you could have another job, right? As you're building the business.
God, yeah,
So you're not relying on that to be your source of income.
makes a lot of sense. I do want to go back to the LinkedIn post. I'm a little intrigued on, I guess how much buzz the LinkedIn post got, right? How have you really leveraged networking and mentorship to get to where you are now?
I mean, it's everything. I think it's everything. I think if you were to say what's one of my best skills is networking, it really is. I think I'm not afraid to reach out to anyone, whether it's a journalist, a CEO, Mark Cuban, Shark, you name it. I'm kind of fearless. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, should I send it on? I'm like, who cares? If they don't reply
I,
or they ghost me or whatever, it
I
doesn't
see it
matter.
on LinkedIn all the time.
Yeah.
You capitalize on the fact that Mark asked you if your mom really named you Skyler Scarlett.
Yeah.
I see that
I'm hoping
post.
that he'll comment on it, right? He didn't, but who cares that he didn't? If he had, it would have been great PR for me, right? Great attention.
Right.
So networking is huge. Once you get older, your network is big. I have so many people in my network that will do favors for me. And a lot of my connections have come from intros. Intros are better than cold. Cold kind of sucks, right? There's you have no credibility. You're just trying to get lucky. But a lot of my intros just come from trusted people. So like I'm building an advisor team of people that it's mind blowing. They would join GameClass and they're coming through other connections. People that worked at, the biggest gaming companies in the world.
So you'd rather follow, which this makes a lot of sense. And for us, it's like we don't have huge networks and we're trying to develop them. So a lot of our stuff early on is cold, but now as we continue to develop our network, that's definitely something we're going to be looking forward to doing is like
Yeah,
leveraging our
it's not
network.
your fault. I want you to know this. It's not your fault because you have an age issue. You can't have a big network at your age.
Right.
It's impossible. When you get older, you no matter what you did, if you did the right steps, you should have a pretty decent, like I'm 35. Like I didn't have a decent network at 35. What did I do wrong in my 20s when I was an entrepreneur, right? I know all these Shark Tank entrepreneurs. I have a huge network in the wellness and cryotherapy space. A lot of entrepreneurs that I know. And now I'm getting a huge network in education in the video game industry, right? Which is a new space for me. So let's say I do something different in 10 years. Maybe it's not in the video game space. We'll have a lot of connections there in education.
Absolutely.
And then I do want to ask I guess a mindset question, right? Because I think mindset really is everything. What do you think is the mindset that every young entrepreneur, really any entrepreneur, should strive to have?
Okay, I'll give you a great example. When I had my cryotherapy company with my sister, we would joke because if the first client of the day would come in the morning and buy a package or a membership from us, we were unstoppable the rest of the day. Everyone sold, everyone bought. Our conversion rate is probably like 99%. But the first person came in, they were rude and they denied us and we couldn't get past the objections and they didn't like our conversion rate and sales were terrible. Mindset. The first person threw off our mindset. We weren't confident when the next person came in to sell them. When the first person came in, we already got that first sale of the day. We were so confident. Confidence is really important, right? In mentality and mindset. So the first thing of the day would change our entire mindset, both positive and negative, and change the entire outcome of the day. If something bad happens, it can ruin everything. If something bad happens tomorrow, that bad thing could screw up the deals I'm working on. Or the way I react and I just stay calm and coast out, right? And get through things. So like mindset is absolutely everything. Bad things are going to happen. Great things are going to happen. You got to have the right mindset in business and in life to try to get through things like that.
All right.
And then,
okay, one more. Yeah.
If you were to really, I guess, go back to your high school days or college days and when you really get, starting to get into the cryotherapy space, right? What's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Don't take things so seriously. I thought every business meeting, every deal, everything was the end of the world, right? And now it's like, I realize it's really not. But when you're young, you think it is. So, I talk to huge companies, CEOs all the time, and it's like, it's cool, but at the same time, like, it's not as big of a deal as I thought it was, 15 years ago. They're just human beings. They're just a company. It's just, it's not that big of a deal. If you mess it up, it's not the end of the world. And if you're successful, your company's not guaranteed to be a success now.
All right. Shub, if you don't have anything else, I'll let Anika ask her question.
Okay, so what's a failure or obstacle you experienced that you learned an important lesson throughout your career?
This one I keep making all the time. You should simplify things always. And yet, even though I told Rahit this and I go to universities, I always tell this, I will overcomplicate things, right? So again, like cryotherapy, I had this huge menu of pricing. I took it from 20 different pricing models to 3. Our conversion rate skyrocketed. We ended up making like 5 times the amount of money just by simplifying our menu of pricing. GameClass, right? We're trying to please everyone by being every subject for every grade level. Kind of crazy. If we just focus on maybe 3 subjects and a few grade levels, I bet you we'd be way more successful and everything else will work itself out over time.
I was just gonna say with the pricing model thing, like when I first joined GameClass, I know you were trying to decide on like your pricing model, and I think something where like you just as an entrepreneur you just don't make the same mistake twice because you were able to decide and figure that out and you knew where you were going pretty quickly with that. And if you want to comment on that, like you figured it out a lot faster because you had learned from your earlier failures with pricing models and
Yeah,
cryo.
look, I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I know I'm going to, especially in the education video game space, which I'm not familiar with. I just, like you said, don't want to make the same mistake twice. And again, like it's where I'm trying to go that matters. The number one thing for GameClass, and this is really important with anything you're doing, even if the numbers aren't where they are, is the traction there. I've had a kind of startup I tried to do after cryo before GameClass where there was no traction. I tried everything, but there's no traction. GameClass from day one, the traction has been something I've never experienced, way more than I had in cryo. Like people are so excited about what we're doing. It's just that we had to put the puzzle pieces together and we're still putting some of those puzzle pieces together. Like lately we've realized everyone understands our value prop of our content super exciting, but everyone wants us to build something for them. They want customized content. Like they're
Mm,
telling us, we want this, we want
yes.
something specifically for this. So we're constantly learning.
Yeah. I'll kind of move the conversation here to a little different realm. A lot of us have or are, I know three of us right now are taking an accounting class, but we've always been taught in school because like our accounting teacher always says accounting is the language of business, right? But like how closely have you and your businesses worked with your accountants and like financial people to understand like what's going on in terms of that?
I mean, my CPA is really good. I got to say that. But like, here's what's funny. Math was my weakest subject growing up, but yet I'm really good at business numbers. When I make projections for any company, whether it was cryo or game class, I get really close to what they are. So for whatever reason, like percentages in accounting and statistics, I really enjoy, even though I grew up like despising algebra and geometry and math. So I think you really want to know your numbers yourself when you own a business or you're an entrepreneur and not rely on a CPA or an accountant to do all that for you because they make mistakes or again, like your numbers are everything, right? You need to know how many people are on the platform versus how many are not paying, how is it sticky? Are they staying? Like
Right.
numbers tell you so much. They're not just numbers. They're like the inside of everything once you pay attention to them.
Yeah. And I was gonna say from your Shark Tank pitches and from your Shark Tank days, we've seen obviously we grew up with Shark Tank and watching Shark Tank. So a lot of us know that one of the biggest things that the sharks look for is somebody who knows their numbers and understands what they're talking about from like financial perspective. So like in your experience, was that scenario the same or like was it even more intense than you thought on like them grilling you on your numbers?
Shark Tank was funny because we prepared so much and 90% of what we prepared for was never brought up. So again, right? Like it's funny, all these things we thought and they weren't. And then the other stuff, like you want to know your business, right? And we did know our business and they could see that we knew our business, but a lot of things never came out that we thought. And again, like, yeah, I mean, numbers depend on who you're talking to, right? Numbers to your customers are different to numbers to investors or numbers.
Do we have IO and and how have you applied that to scaling game class into ed tech? I know you're currently still scaling, but like
Oh, great question. I would say saving money. I spent money recklessly on my first startup. It wasn't just because I was reckless, more I just didn't know. So look, I ended up spending $100,000 on legal fees for my first startup. That's a lot of money. All right. That's a lot of money, especially when you're, 24, 25 years old. Tried to do franchising, licensing, all this crazy stuff. So knowing like where I didn't have to spend money, when I was young, I hired someone to do a website. Like I can build my own website. There's so many ways for an entrepreneur, someone to save money today with AI. There's so much stuff you can do on your own. So I've saved so much money. I built GameClass so lean and just being patient with GameClass. I'm super stubborn and impatient. I really am. But I learned from my first company that it's not a great way to start a business or run a business. So like we're patent pending. The patents we're
yeah,
pending on are so unbelievably valuable. They
right.
just are insanely valuable. And yet it's all
That's
because I
your
took my time. I took
differentiation
my
from
time.
other companies in the
Well,
space too, right?
you don't have to have patents, and most people don't. It's not like Game Classes doesn't work without patents. Again, our
Right.
tech was really hard to build. We have like a 3-year advantage on anyone that wants to copy it, but the stuff we have patents on are be incredibly invaluable to like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and like big companies we see as potential acquirers in the future, or education companies. Because if their big competitors want to do it, they're going to run into patent issues. And again, with patents, you really need to have the cash flow to be able to block people from infringing on your patents and stuff. But again, that's not something I would have been able to do with my first company. I just didn't have the patience because
Right.
I had to follow the rules and really go by the book. And that stuff just takes a long time. That means I couldn't make announcements. I couldn't do certain things because I had to wait on things. So I think there's a sense of patience I have now, even though I'm a very impatient person, but knowing that it was really important for this business to be patient in certain areas. Even, launching things, right? Like people talk about MVPs, right? They say rush out MVP, see if there's any traction. I think that's true if you're not passionate about what you're launching. What I mean is if it's just a quick make money, absolutely get it out there, see if you can make money, see if there's any traction. But I was so passionate about Game Class because I love video games, one of my biggest hobbies. I've been playing video games since I was 4, and education is something I'm very passionate about. So I was going to give this thing time to build it correctly. And I didn't think if I rushed out an editor and Rohit, you probably would agree that it would
Oh
have
yeah.
worked. It would have been too
Yeah.
janky and the content would have been too bad to really know if it was going to work. I think people would have said, no way we're going to use this. And it's not
I mean,
because,
as
right?
somebody who was there from day one, like I could speak to this in terms of
Yep.
like how the editor has progressed. Like if we had put out our day one editor, like we at Game Class, we would be nowhere. Yeah.
Out of
And
business.
so
Now people are like, people come to me saying, it feels like we're on Canva.
yeah,
That
yeah,
I know how patient I had to be because I'm not technical. So I have a dev team and it's very technically challenged what we're building. I had to be so patient. And we had to change things that we spent 8 months on, delete it and redo things. That's super hard to do. But when we did it, it was the right move because then people went to editor like, wow, this is so simple, so easy to use. Even the people that are
and I
making content
remember
on my
when
internal team.
we were
Yeah.
super hesitant early with the editor to make changes because we were like you had the exact same fear. Like you were like I have to delete all this and then change it again and like the editor's gonna be
Yep.
messed up and we're not gonna be able to make lessons. But eventually you have to do it right. That's the iterative process.
So yeah, I hope my point's coming across clear, right? Because if it's a passion project and it's going to take more time, you have to give it time. You have to build a better MVP. If you're not passionate about it, yeah, rush out an MVP, see if there's traction, see if you get a wait list, see if you get buyers. So that's how I feel about.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments, any questions that you want to ask Skylar
I
before we wrap
do
this
want to
up?
ask one more question, right? Where do you see ed tech and I guess, game class heading in the next 5 years, especially with, AI, agentic AI? How do you find those things really affecting ed tech?
I mean, I'm very excited about it. I'm very scared about it too. I'm excited because I see the potential of stuff it's doing for game class, stuff it does in my personal life or business, right? But it scares me because AI is not always right. But we have this instinct, like this instinctual thing of thinking it's right because it's a computer. It has to be right. But I spot errors all the time. But I didn't grow up with AI, so like I double check things, I rewrite them. I don't ever take the first one I'm given. I think a
Yeah.
lot of students may take the first one they're given, and it's going to look really bad. Have you saw the dash marks they give you? Drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this is disgusting, right? Like I've like stopped doing the dashes. No matter how many times I tell it not to do dashes, it won't listen. It still wants to do dashes. So I see students just taking these things. I can see the dashes in the email. I'm going to be kind of like, you just copy and pasted this out of AI, right? So even if you're using AI, you don't really want people to know you're using AI, right?
Yeah.
You
It's
want to kind of
funny
feel like it's
because
your own.
one of our when we first were doing interviews for people who were getting on the team, I think two founders on here know what I'm talking about. We heard one of the people interviewing, he was literally he typed the question. We heard him using AI on the interview.
Yep.
It was funny for us because we were like we didn't tell him. We were thinking like, that we know that you're using AI, right? And
Come on.
it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That's what I'm talking about. So I am scared, and I'm also scared of people losing their jobs. I really hope that the people that have the power are creating jobs for people because you can't just take jobs away and then not have jobs for them. That's horrific. That's really scary to me. Like you need the income to take care of your family, live in a house, buy food. So if you're taking jobs away and people are trying to replace jobs by using AI, what's waiting for those people? You have to have
I
something
mean,
waiting for them. So that part really scares me. But then the stuff like medicine and being able to identify illnesses and stuff like that is exciting, right? The stuff that
right,
AI can help with. So I'm very split on it. But for game class, yeah, I mean, we're game class AI for a reason. It's going to help, again, teachers love it, but they don't have the time to build lessons. So they can prompt something, but still come in and tweak things a little bit. That's going to save them time to personalize for students, right? So I will say AI is going to make it really easy to personalize for students. Instead of trying to teach the whole classroom, you can really personalize for every student in the classroom with AI. That's
Found
going to
it.
be huge.
Love
A lot of people that I talk to that are way above me in education said, you timed game class perfectly. And I'm like, I did. How did I time it perfectly? They're like, look, we're in a big part of ed tech where they need more engaging content.
Yeah.
Like this is the digital age. There's legacy companies. They need to get their legacy content digitalized. And you're providing a very engaging, exciting way to do that. So they're like, we think you timed the market, even if it was accidental, like perfectly. And then like homeschooling is becoming more popular. Micro schools learning at home and game class fits in perfectly to that. So
absolutely.
I feel really confident about our place in ed tech with what we're doing. And again, like there's a lot of ed tech companies that are so similar to other ones. Ours is very different. Very different. Actually, kind of, when I first started Rohit, I thought we'd have a very focused user group spending a lot of money. I don't think that anymore. I realized that my best customers and clients are non-gamers, surprisingly. And Rohit is a
Yeah.
non-gamer.
He knows that
So,
from me
and
because
you
I
liked it, right? And you're
talked
like, you
about
know
that.
what? I like the way my
Absolutely.
brain feels when I'm learning with this stuff, even though you were a non-gamer.
Yeah.
I'm a gamer, so I couldn't understand that at first, but I get it now. Non-gamers, like, you know what? A lot of my students game. This is going to be effective to get them to participate. Gamers are like, let's get a video game console into every classroom. And that's just not feasible. Gamers a lot of times are my harder conversation. So you just never know until you're out there the kind of feedback you're going to get.
Does anybody else have anything they want to ask Skyler, Nika, Keisha? Okay. This was awesome. I'm really grateful for the fact that you took your time out of your busy day to sit down with now almost an hour with us,
Well, of
and
course.
really grateful. If